Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to talk about something that I think we all know really, really well. It's that constant low-grade hum of dissatisfaction. It's kind of like this background noise that's always there, telling you that even when things are objectively good, something just isn't quite right. So let's be clear about what we mean by suffering. We're not talking about huge tragedies or some massive life event. No, the sources for today's explainer are pointing to something way more subtle. It's that nagging feeling of inconvenience or inadequacy, that quiet little voice in the back of your head whispering that you're just not quite where you're supposed to be. There's actually an ancient word for this, dukkha, and it just nails this feeling. It's that sense of dissatisfaction you get even when you're having a good time. The feeling that something's missing, or this can't possibly last, or maybe you're already feeling nostalgic for a moment that isn't even over yet. That's dukkha.
So what's our go-to strategy for dealing with this? Well, we all kind of do the same thing by default, right? We chase after the good stuff and we run like hell from the bad stuff. We think, oh, if I just get that promotion, or find the perfect relationship, or go on that amazing trip, then this feeling will finally go away. We're totally convinced the answer is somewhere out there.
And this is where you see the trap so perfectly. You go on that dream vacation, and yeah, for a little while, it works. But then you find yourself getting impatient for whatever's next, or you're already feeling sad because it's the last day. The chase itself starts to cause the suffering. It's this hamster wheel that just keeps spinning and spinning, and it ends up fueling the very feeling we're trying so hard to get away from.
Okay, so if the chase is a dead end, where does this feeling actually come from? Well, our sources are pretty clear on this one. The root of all this suffering, it isn't about what's missing on the outside. It's all about how we relate to what's happening on the inside. It's not the event, it's our reaction to the event.
And the key to really, truly getting this comes from this incredible metaphor. It's about 2,500 years old, and it's a story that's all about two arrows.
So let's break this down. The first arrow, that's the unavoidable stuff. Life is just gonna throw it at you. It's stubbing your toe, getting a frustrating email, a flight getting canceled. It's what happens to us. But the second arrow, that's the one we fire at ourselves. That's our reaction, our judgment, the story we spin around that first arrow. Let's make this super real. So the first arrow, you stumble getting out of bed. Ouch. That's it. That's the raw physical sensation of pain. But then comes the second arrow. It's the story that immediately follows. I'm so clumsy. This day is already toast. Why does nothing ever go right for me? All of a sudden, a tiny physical thing has snowballed into this massive, mood-wrecking disaster. That whole snowball, that's the second arrow. And this right here is the absolute game changer. The first arrow, that's often inevitable. Life is just full of them. But that second arrow, the dukkha, the real suffering, that is almost always optional. We're the ones who pick it up, take aim, and let it fly right at ourselves. So, that leads to the big question, doesn't it? If this second arrow is optional, how in the world do we stop firing it? How do we catch that thing before it hits? Well, the path to freedom from all this self-inflicted pain is all about learning how to do just that. The solution that our sources point to is, well, it's surprisingly simple. It's not always easy, but it is simple. It's about making a conscious shift in your attention. So instead of getting sucked into the drama of the story, that whole mental movie you're playing, you anchor yourself in the raw physical reality of the moment. You anchor yourself in the sensation. So why sensations? Because they're the raw data of reality. They are pure, unfiltered information that comes into your system before your mind slaps a label on it, or a judgment, or a whole story. Just think of them as the pure experience. The what is, right before we add our 2 cents about what it means. So instead of getting lost in that big, scary story of I'm so stressed out, you can learn to just notice the simple physical facts. What does stress actually feel like in your body? Is it maybe a feeling of pressure in your chest, or heat in your face, or maybe a vibrating tension in your shoulders? These are just raw sensations. They're neutral data points.
They're not a catastrophe. And let's be really clear here. This is not about needing a silent room or finding an hour to go meditate on a cushion. Not at all. This is a skill you can practice anywhere, anytime. It's about making these little, tiny, conscious shifts right in the middle of your perfectly normal, busy, everyday life. Okay, so let's try this out. Next time you're doing some routine task, something you just do on autopilot, like cutting an onion, try this. First, just notice that you're on autopilot. Then, just choose one raw sensation to focus on. Maybe it's the glint of the knife, or the sharp smell, or the physical resistance of the onion as you cut. Now focus all your attention right there. And when your mind inevitably starts making up a story, just gently, without judgment, bring your attention back to the sensation. That's it. That's the whole practice. You see, this simple shift from story to sensation, it creates a gap. It creates a little bit of space between the stimulus, that first arrow, and your response. And right there in that space, that's where your freedom is. It gives you a choice. So as we wrap up this explainer, you're left with a really powerful question. Your next first arrow, it's coming. It's an inevitable part of being alive. The only real question is, what will your second arrow be?